I woke up to banging on my bedroom door, and a whisper right behind me. But I was alone. The door was locked from the inside. She said, "Don't turn around," in this playful, teasing tone, like it was a joke. Then her voice dropped, colder, sharper, "You won't like what I'm holding." The cat hissed into the dark, and my phone lit up under the pillow with a new audio file. I hadn't pressed record. It wasn't the first file either. It was the 8th. And at that exact moment, she texted me from the couch, "Babe, you up?" "I'm scared, LOL." My hands shook as I pressed play. Breathing filled the speaker. My name, stretched out like a smile. Then her voice whispered, "Stay very, very still. Tell me, Reddit, how long would you keep sleeping next to that?" Hi Reddit. I'm 28, she's 27. We'd been together for 2 years, living together for 5 months. By day she was sunshine, funny, quick, the kind of person who makes strangers laugh in line at the store. By night? A blanket burrito gremlin. And yeah, she talked in her sleep. At first, it was adorable. That's how it began. Month 1, she'd mumble grocery lists at 3 a.m. Blueberries. Dish soap. A tiny horse. I'd choke back laughter, half asleep. She'd wake up confused, wondering why there was a post-it stuck to the headboard with tiny horse in my handwriting. We laughed about it for days. By month 2 it wasn't mumbling anymore. Full conversations now. She'd sit up, eyes closed, and argue with no one about the Duvets union rules or how the cat owed her rent. I downloaded a sleep-talking app just for the laughs. Breakfast became comedy hour. We'd listen to clips of her telling a ghost to take a number, or ordering the lamp to pay its taxes. She'd blush, bury her face in my shoulder, laugh at herself, "God, I'm ridiculous." And I loved her for it. It was harmless, cute, our little thing. That's what I told myself. Even when the clips started getting longer, sharper. Even when the words stopped being funny. "Shh, don't wake him up. Hold still. If he moves, we start over." I told myself it was still just noise. Dream gibberish. But the cat knew better. He stopped sleeping on the bed. The first time I truly felt something was wrong, it wasn't the words she said. It was the silence. You know that heavy kind of silence, where every creak in the house feels alive? That night I woke up because the bed felt cold. The cat wasn't there. He always came to bed, curling at my legs like a little furnace. But this time, he wasn't. I looked around and saw him on the dresser, back arched, tail puffed out, a low growl rumbling from him. I had never heard him sound like that before, low, shaky, like something was in the room with us. Then came her whisper. Not the silly mumbling I was used to. Not the dreamy nonsense. It was sharp, clear, deliberate. Almost there. "Don't jump." "Not yet." My whole body froze. She was behind me, not spooning, not lying down. Sitting. I could feel the mattress dip with her knees, her breath warm against the back of my neck. I wanted to turn, to laugh it off, to ask what she was dreaming about. But I couldn't move. I went rigid, playing dead. If I stayed still, maybe it would stop. She stayed there, so close, too close, for what felt like forever. Then slowly, she slid down and curled up again, her breathing settling back into that slow rhythm. Like nothing had happened. The next morning, she kissed my forehead and asked if I wanted waffles, smiling like she hadn't whispered "don't jump" into my ear a few hours earlier. I smiled back and pretended nothing was wrong, because what else do you do in that moment? I kept telling myself it was stress. Or maybe my imagination. But little things started piling up. The baby gate for the cat sometimes latched differently when I woke up, even though we hadn't touched it at night. The step stool under the smoke detector, like someone had stood there, listening to the ceiling. My phone battery mysteriously drained even though it had been charging. And always, the app had new files. Neatly saved. Some even labeled with my name. And then came the thing I couldn't explain away. I came home early one day. She didn't hear me at first. She was in the bedroom. Sitting up. Rehearsing. Saying the same lines I'd heard on the recordings. Same tone. Same pauses. Hold still. If he moves, we start over. Not muttered. Not groggy. Awake. Practicing. When she finally came out, she was bright and cheerful, holding the cat like a shield. "Babe. You scared me," she laughed. I laughed too, told her I was just quiet. But inside, my stomach twisted. I should have asked her right then. I didn't. And that silence, my silence, still makes me sick when I think about it. Eventually, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I had to say something, even if it was late, even if I already knew the answer would scare me. One night, while she was brushing her teeth, I asked, "Hey, do you know you've been talking in your sleep a lot more?" She glanced at me in the mirror, foam at the corner of her mouth, eyebrows raised. "Ugh. Is it freaky?" she said casually. "I told you I do weird stuff at night." I tried to keep my voice steady. "You've been saying things. To me. Really specific things." She spit, rinsed, then smiled, almost embarrassed. "Do I say your name?" "Yeah," I said. She smirked and shook her head. "Cute." I pushed a little further, told her about the recordings, told her about waking up and seeing her sitting right behind me. For a second her expression shifted, she bit her lip, lowered her eyes, and nodded softly. "Maybe it's parasomnia," she whispered. "Or stress. My mom said I used to rearrange cereal boxes in my sleep. It's embarrassing, babe." Then, after a pause, in a voice so quiet I almost missed it, "Do I touch you?" I hesitated. "No. I don't think so." She nodded again, relieved. That night, she Googled sleep clinics. She even forwarded me an appointment request, like proof she was serious. She held my face in her hands and said, "See? We'll fix it. I hate that I scare you. I'd never hurt you." Then the tears came. Not loud sobs, not messy crying. Careful tears, perfect tears, just enough to make me feel like the villain for bringing it up. And of course, I hugged her, told her it was okay. But deep inside, a thought shot through me like lightning, she's crying on purpose. For 2 nights, I almost convinced myself it was fine. I slept better. I let the clinic plan calm me down. I almost believed it was all just stress. And then came the 3rd night. I woke up to the sound of the cat growling again, that strange, low, trembling growl. The room looked normal, but my phone buzzed. A new voice memo. I hadn't pressed record. Hands shaking, I played it. Her voice came through, awake and sharp. "Good boy. Don't blink." Then silence. Then slow, heavy breathing. And a laugh. Not hers. Not the warm laugh of the girl who bought me rainbow cereal when I was down. This laugh was hollow, cold, like something wearing her voice. And then the words that made my blood run cold, "Stay very, very still." I stumbled into the bathroom, locked the door, and sat shaking on the edge of the tub. Minutes later, a gentle knock. "Babe? You okay?" Her voice was soft, joking, light. "Bad taco? Come on, drama king." When I finally came out, there was a glass of water waiting on the sink. She looked at me with soft, worried eyes. "You're freaking me out," she whispered. "I don't remember any of it. I would never hurt you." She looked so small, so fragile. And I hugged her again, even as every nerve in me screamed not to. I couldn't shake it after that. The laugh, the voice memo, the way she cried just enough to keep me in place. So I set up an old webcam. I told her it was to check on the cat at night. She laughed, called it Dad Cam, even gave me a peace sign before bed like it was a joke. For a moment I felt stupid, like I was overreacting. But something in me said I had to see for myself. At 3:04 a.m. The camera caught her sitting up. Eyes wide open. Head turning slowly until she looked, not past the webcam, not through it, but right at the tiny red light. She smiled. Slowly. Deliberately. Then she leaned forward, grabbed my t-shirt from the chair, and covered the lens. Neatly, carefully. No clumsiness. No wandering hands. She knew exactly what she was doing, like she had done it before. The next morning, I asked casually, "Do you remember covering the camera?" She blinked, shrugged, and grinned. "Guess I dream prop," she said, like it was a joke. Is that even a word? My brain's staging plays now. Then she flipped pancakes with little smiley faces on them, kissed my cheek, and said, "Sorry for being spooky." She made it seem harmless, silly, like nothing had happened. And almost, I believed her. But the cat didn't. He wouldn't come when she called anymore. He'd wait under the couch or hide under the dresser. And when he did sleep in the room, he perched on the dresser, ears flat, staring at her. Like he knew something I didn't. The whispers kept coming. Closer now. Always right at my ear. Stay still. If you breathe louder, you'll mess it up. That's my good boy. Every night, sharper, testing me, like she wanted to see how much I could take before I broke. One night, I woke up with the cat on my chest. But it wasn't me who put him there. My hands were holding him in place, like someone had guided them. That's when I realized she had. She had placed him there. She had moved my hands while I slept. I wasn't in control anymore. The next morning she wrinkled her nose, laughed, and said, "He's clingy, huh?" Then she sent me an article about how cats can sense illness. "Maybe he's protecting you, Paw Prince Redheart." I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. Because I didn't know what else to do. That afternoon I broke my own rule. I checked our shared tablet. The browsing history was normal at first: recipes, lint rollers, random YouTube. Then I saw them: how to tell if someone is awake with eyes closed, simulate sleepwalking convincingly. My stomach dropped. She walked in as I was staring at the screen. Saw exactly what I was looking at. For a moment she froze, then bent over laughing, clutching her stomach like it was the funniest thing in the world. "I knew you'd look," she said. I knew it. God, you're cute when you're scared. And my heart sank, because I realized she wanted me to find it. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. My nerves were frayed, my hands shook whenever I thought about it, so one evening I begged her for honesty. My voice cracked, but I asked anyway, "Are you pretending? Are you awake when you do it?" She walked over without hesitation, slid her arms around me from behind, rested her chin on my shoulder, and whispered, "I'm sorry you feel unsafe. I hate that I scare you. Let's just wait for the clinic. Please, don't make this ugly." Her voice was soft, tender, almost like a lullaby trying to rock me back into trust. And against all reason, I nodded. Let her hold me, let myself believe for just a second that maybe it was all in my head. That night she slept like a child. Mouth open, a little drool at the corner, cartoonish snores rattling in the dark. The sleep-talking app caught nothing. Silence. And for a few hours, I almost felt guilty for doubting her. Almost. The following night destroyed that illusion. The webcam recorded her sitting up again, turning her head slowly until her face was inches from mine. She didn't touch me. She raised her hand instead, held her finger an inch above my throat, not pressing down, just measuring, tracing the line. Her lips moved, and when I boosted the sound on the file later, the whisper was crystal clear: "Be good. Don't turn." I lay there frozen, every muscle locked. She stayed in that position, her hands suspended above me, eyes wide open. After a full minute, she lay back down. But her eyes stayed open. Not blinking. For 10 whole minutes. Then finally, she rolled over and started snoring again, like none of it had ever happened. I downloaded the footage, labeled the file, "We need to talk." The next morning I called another clinic, begged for an earlier appointment. When I told her, she said she couldn't take off work. When I pressed, she claimed she felt ambushed. When I pushed harder, her face went blank, her voice flat, and she said, "I'm scared of you now. You're sneaking cameras. Recording me at my most vulnerable. That's scary, babe." And somehow, I apologized. Somehow she flipped it so quickly I couldn't keep up. That night I locked the bedroom door from the inside for the first time. And that was the night everything changed. The night of the knocking door. I told myself I was being dramatic, locking the bedroom door from the inside like some paranoid man. But I did it anyway, because the silence in the apartment had started to feel heavy, alive, like it was waiting for me to close my eyes. Around 2 in the morning, it started. First, 3 soft knocks on the door. Just 3. I held my breath and waited, my heart hammering so hard I thought she'd hear it through the wood. Then came her voice, except it wasn't outside. It wasn't at the door. It was right behind me. Inside the locked room. A whisper so close to my ear that my whole body went rigid: "Don't turn around. You won't like what I'm holding." My chest tightened, my throat closed. I couldn't move. And then, as if to mock me, my phone buzzed under the pillow. A new voice memo had been saved. I hadn't pressed record. I hadn't even touched it. My hands shaking, I opened the file and pressed play. It was her voice. Breathing heavy, almost panting, right into the microphone. Stay very, very still. The knocking stopped. Then I heard the cat hiss, claws scrabbling across the floor as he bolted down the hallway. A second later, a crash from the living room, something shattering against the floor. And then her voice again, this time light, casual, almost sing-song. Oops. Sorry. Knocked over the succulent. Like she had just tripped over a plant. Like nothing had happened. I stayed locked in that room until daylight, every tiny creak in the walls making me flinch, every shadow stretching too far across the carpet. When I finally opened the door in the morning, the plant was broken on the floor, soil spilled everywhere, the pot in pieces. She was curled up on the couch under a blanket, phone in hand, looking half asleep. She looked up at me with bleary eyes and yawned, "Hey, babe. Couldn't sleep either?" Like she hadn't whispered to me through a locked door hours earlier. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to demand answers. But instead, I swallowed it all again, because I knew the moment I accused her she would cry, twist it around, make me the villain. That's what she always did. And it worked every time. But that morning, my phone synced automatically with my iPad, and that's when I saw it. A message, not from her to me, but to her best friend. It read, "Did he flinch? LOL." And her reply, "Not yet. Tonight. I think he will." My skin went ice cold. My hands shook so bad I almost dropped the iPad. And that's when I knew whatever this was, it wasn't sleep. It never had been. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a notification from the building group chat. A neighbor had sent me a Ring camera clip with the message, "Dude, isn't this your girlfriend?" My stomach dropped before I even opened it. The timestamp read 2:13 a.m. I pressed play, and there she was, barefoot, hair loose, holding her phone in one hand and my spare phone in the other. She crouched on the doormat outside our apartment, pulled something tiny and shiny from her pocket, and placed it carefully under the mat. Then, before going back inside, she turned her head directly toward the camera and smiled. Not an embarrassed smile, not sheepish or caught off guard. A deliberate, slow, calm smile, like she knew I'd be watching. When I got home later that evening, the mat looked normal. But when I lifted it, my heart dropped. A tiny silver bell, the kind you'd see on a cat collar, was pressed into the rubber. It wasn't ours. I stood there staring at it, cold sweat running down my back. That's when my iPad lit up again with another synced message from her friend. "Did he flinch? LOL." And her reply, "Not yet. Tonight. I think he will." I wanted to throw up. I confronted her that night, couldn't hold it in anymore. I showed her the video, the bell, the texts. I expected shouting, denial, maybe even anger. But instead, her eyes filled with tears instantly. Her lips trembled. "I'm trying to make jokes so I don't lose my mind," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You're making me into a monster because I'm sick." She sniffled, wiped her eyes, and looked down, so small and fragile. "Please don't twist this. Please don't hate me for something I don't even remember." Then, like nothing had happened, she asked in the softest voice, "Do you want tea?" That night, she climbed into bed like always, her feet tucked against my calves, body warm and close. She whispered, "Please don't leave me over a weird part of my brain." And for 1 second, I almost softened, almost believed her. Until I noticed the cat. He was lying between us. Not curled, not relaxed. Placed. My wrist was tucked under his paws in a way that if I tried to pull it away, his claws would leave marks. I lay there in the dark, every muscle tight, my heart racing. And that was the moment I knew she wasn't asleep. Not ever. I couldn't keep pretending anymore. My nerves were shot, my body was running on fear instead of sleep, so I finally booked a clinic appointment. Not for her, for me. When I sat across from the doctor and explained everything, he didn't laugh or brush me off. He asked careful questions. And the strange part was, most of them were about her, not me. He used terms I had never heard before: covert waking behaviors, boundary testing, nocturnal play. Then he leaned forward and asked, "How safe do you feel in your own home?" I forced a laugh, tried to brush it off, and asked if he meant on a scale. He said, "Your scale." I sat there for a moment, then whispered, 3. Some nights, a 1. The doctor just nodded and said the one line that has been stuck in my head ever since: "You can love someone and still lock your door." I went home with those words rattling inside my skull. Locking the door. Unlocking love. How do you balance those things? I didn't have an answer yet. But that very night, I learned what the real answer was. I woke up again with weight on my chest. The cat. But this time, it wasn't him who jumped there on his own. My arms were wrapped around him, holding him down like he was a restraint, like someone had placed him there and positioned my hands. My eyes flew open just a slit, and that's when I saw her. Kneeling on the bed. Hair falling over her face. Watching me. She reached out slowly and tapped the bell on his collar, making it chime softly in the silence. Then she smiled. And whispered, not to me, but to the cat, "Shh, help me keep him still." My whole body went cold. This wasn't random muttering. This wasn't stress. This wasn't sleep. She was talking to the cat, using him like part of her game, like part of her plan. The cat's ears flattened, his body stiff, but he stayed in place because my hands were still holding him. I lay there frozen, controlling every breath, pretending to sleep. After a moment, she climbed off the bed without stumbling, without any of the clumsy movements of sleepwalking. Her steps were deliberate, smooth, measured. The hallway light flicked on automatically, and she didn't even flinch. She just walked away. The cat bolted from my chest and dove under the dresser, his eyes wide. I stayed where I was, staring at the ceiling, counting my breaths until daylight finally came. And when it did, I knew. I knew with absolute certainty that she wasn't asleep during any of this. Not then, not ever. She was awake. She was performing. And she was using me as her stage. That was the night I made the decision. The final one. I couldn't stay. Not another night. I packed what I could without making noise. Just the basics: wallet, phone, one bag with a change of clothes. And the cat, of course. I wasn't leaving him behind. I didn't slam the door or make a scene. I just slipped out quietly, my heart pounding the whole time, terrified she would wake up and follow me into the hallway. I spent that night on a friend's couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling every muscle in my body finally start to unclench. 3 days later, I had the locks changed. Broad daylight, full view of the neighbors, because I didn't care anymore. The thought of her walking back in with her spare key made my chest lock up so tight I could barely breathe. I thought maybe, that would be the end of it. But then the texts started. 3:26 in the morning. I woke up alone. Are you punishing me? A few minutes later, this is messed up. Please don't make me the crazy ex in your little Reddit story. And then the last one, the one that still echoes in my head whenever I close my eyes: if you wanted me to stop, you should have said something earlier. That line cut deeper than anything else, because she was right. I should have said something earlier. I should have drawn the line the first time she whispered in my ear. The first time she rehearsed her lines. The first time the cat hissed at her. But fear makes you quiet. And she knew how to use silence like a weapon. I found myself thinking back to the beginning, when it was funny. The grocery list muttering. The nonsense about blueberries and tiny horses. The way we'd laugh at breakfast, listening to her ghost negotiations on the app. It had felt harmless. Adorable, even. And now, I was sitting on someone else's couch, staring at my phone like it was a bomb waiting to go off, too scared to even look at the unread messages piling up. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think it was stress, or parasomnia, or some glitch in her brain that made her act out at night. But the recordings didn't lie. The camera didn't lie. The cat didn't lie. The texts definitely didn't lie. The only lie in all of this was her. And the only truth I had left was hiding under the couch at my friend's place, my cat, who had refused to sleep anywhere near her for weeks. That was my proof. Proof I could feel, proof I could see. Proof that staying one more night would have been a mistake I might not wake up from. I went back to the clinic a week later. Not for her this time. For me. I told the doctor everything: the recordings, the videos, the texts, even the bell under the mat. I half expected him to smirk, to tell me I was being paranoid, that I just needed rest. But he didn't. He listened. Patiently. And when I was done, he leaned back and said quietly, "Fear can make you doubt yourself. But patterns don't lie." Then he repeated the line he had told me before: "You can love someone and still lock your door." This time, I finally understood. Love and safety aren't the same thing. You can miss someone and still know they're dangerous. You can remember the good times and still choose to walk away. I'll be honest, I do miss her sometimes. I miss the Sunday bagels, the way she lined up the TV remotes by height, the silly jokes about the cat needing to pay rent. But I don't miss the whispers. I don't miss the rehearsed tears. I don't miss lying frozen in bed, wondering if I'd make it to morning. Now, the cat sleeps at my feet again. Sometimes he climbs on my chest at night, and when I wake, I gently move him aside, turn on a lamp, and whisper his name out loud just to ground myself, to remind myself I'm safe. Sometimes I even say my own name, too. Because the room doesn't whisper back anymore. And here's what I've learned. If something feels wrong, it is. If your body tells you to freeze, listen. Silence itself can be a warning. Don't excuse it because you love them. Don't wait until you're locking doors inside your own home. Don't let perfect tears rewrite what you know you saw. You can forgive someone from a distance. You can love someone and still leave. And sometimes leaving isn't cruel, it's survival. So if you're reading this at 2 in the morning, scrolling because you just heard something you can't explain, lock your door. Trust your gut. Keep your recordings. And remember, if a joke feels like a threat, it isn't a joke. TLDR, my girlfriend's cute sleep talking turned into deliberate whispers, staged scenes, and threats she pretended not to remember. I ignored the signs for too long. Finally, I left with the cat. Now I know boundaries aren't cruelty. Sometimes, they're the only thing keeping you alive.